Hey gang, welcome back to day 2 of hashtag Love Fall Arts, and to part 2 of my 3-part mini-series. Today is all about leaves, fall leaves, dipping leaves, printing with leaves. Let's get started. So at this point I have a couple of pages covered. I really loved using these distress stains with on this watercolor paper. I also tried them out on some regular Bristol, Strathmore Bristol, and that's a nice weight for a card, and they took really well to that, even though it's not meant for watercolor. And this is on a piece of watercolor cards, watercolor paper, probably about 100 weight, I'd say. So I figured since I had everything out, I'd make a couple of card starts on cards while I was at it. And now I'm looking at this thinking, so what's next here? Somewhere here in this mess, I have some vellum. I love using vellum, so I might, and I also have some leaves, since this, I'm trying to do some autumn colors here, because this is Love Fall Art, and I do love autumn. It's just my favorite, very favorite season. And so we don't have any leaves falling, so I picked a few, and I'm going to try to make some prints. I grabbed the dabbers, but I have a feeling they're not going to be thick enough. This is very dark, so I've got two choices. I can either throw some gesso on top of this and push this into the background, or get something more really opaque. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, so I'll be back. And I might also use this vellum. Let me just show you what happens to vellum, or a couple ways that I love to use vellum. First of all, if you fold and crease vellum, most of you, if anybody's worked with vellum, you've tried very hard not to crumple it. And my strategy is crumble it because you can make really beautiful patterns with vellum that has been crumpled. And I could go on and on with this and make more patterns. And also the don't get vellum wet thing, yeah, it'll curl, it'll be wavy. This is actually Basil 40-pound vellum, so I haven't done my wet techniques on this vellum, but yeah, it's definitely waving and getting very interesting. In my mind, it's interesting. So yeah, play with vellum. Yeah, look at it curling. Ooh, it's just me. It's just more texture and more interest. So I probably used something here. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. So I have created a palette on my craft mat by just wiping a little bit of these 3 inks right onto the craft mat, and then giving them a squirt with some plain old water, and you can see me pressing the vellum into that palette, and it's just picking up water, it's curling. And I've also printed some leaves onto the vellum, and I'll go ahead and continue to pick up some color with these. At this point, I'm just manipulating that vellum. I'm sort of squishing it and trying to make it look aged, I suppose. And here's a leaf print I made by just, you see me here dipping that leaf right into that pile of paint or stain, pressing it into the cardstock. I'm using the underside of the leaf for printing because the veins are more apparent. I'm getting a better print by, after adding the color to the leaf, putting it on the paper and pressing with a cloth the whole thing rather than with trying to get it with my fingers. And now it's also really effective to lay a piece of scrap paper down and roll it out with a brayer, and you can see that print is much nicer, more complete. You can always use a little water on a brush to fill in empty areas. That looks really pretty too. It's a soft watercolory look. I'm sorry, this is a little out of screen here, but this is when I brayered. I put a piece of scrap paper on top and brayered, and that makes a great print. As I was printing, I was noticing what happened when you kind of drag the leaf over the paper was beautiful. So I'm going to do that with the rest of this ink, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. We'll see. Right now I'm just going to play with it and see what happens. It just was such a beautiful line, especially this one, this tips. You'll know what happens when the distress ink, when you spray it with water, distress ink gets very cool looking. So I sprayed it with some water, and if I can find my toilet paper roll, I'm telling you, I should zoom out and let you see what it looks like. There's over there. There's over there. It's a mess. I have this one little clean spot here. Yeah. Behind the scenes. Okay, so I'm gonna, actually that's wet. I'm gonna spray it. I'm just gonna dip. Oh, see how that's color's just mixing really nicely. And I have a die cut too of leaves, so I'm gonna probably wind up putting this through the die cut. So I just dried that really with my heat gun, and then I'm going to continue to dip into the puddle and adding color and water as I go along, and then I'll dry it and can just continue dipping it until I've reached a color saturation that I like. With another way to do these, and this is a way that we've all done when we were kids, but I just thought I'd share it just for the heck of it. And I've got a bunch of distressed wild honey, festive berries, vintage photo, hickory smoke. I also have this Adirondack wild plum, and I'm just turning this leaf and grabbing I'm just keeping the re-inking pads on top of their corresponding pads so I don't get confused. And can't find the one for, oh, here it is, wild plum. So I'm just going, and I'm using deli paper, which has that translucent quality, the same kind of translucent quality as vellum. So I'm thinking this looks pretty cool. I might not use it for this one, but I thought I'd share it as just another way of doing things. And you could also definitely slide this under the paper and go over it with a crayon the way we used to do when we were kids and pick up some of that texture. Try to remember that when you're inking these leaves to use the underside of the leaf where there is more, the veins are more apparent. So I've got this nice set of dies from my favorite things. I think it's called, I don't know what it's called. I'll link it below. But this is one of those dies that for me was totally worth buying because I can really see myself using. I love the shapes like this, and so I can totally see myself using that. The reason I pulled this one off is because it wouldn't fit on the paper. So I'm just going to run this through, make sure I have the right side down, and run this through the die cut. I'm kind of new to die cutting, and I'm kind of really happy I got this. This is the Sizzix Big Shot. And I'm really glad I took the plunge and got it, because I've been using it a lot, and I'm using it for my classes. I'm using it in just all sorts of different ways. This is from that paper, and they really came out. I think this paper's really nice. It's super autumny. And the other reason I really like die cuts is that I'm left behind with a stencil, and in fact you can make a stamp using foam and come up with a stamp as well. I just wanted to also tell you that with these dies, if you have not used them, I just left these all attached to each other because I wanted to send and make a bunch of them, but this one didn't fit onto the paper I had, so I pulled it off. And you can just use a little snip to take them off. And these dies all have little holes in the back, so if the die cut gets stuck in there, you just poke it out using one of these holes, and any kind of pokey thing, a needle, whatever. Now I've decided, let me put these aside, to do some more inking on these, and I'm just going to use that distress sheet. And I've got Wild Honey and Vintage Photo here, and I think I'm going to pull out some green. I think I have crushed olive. There it is. I've got crushed olive. I think any kind of green would do, but my crushed olive has glitter on it. I don't know how to get rid of that, but anyway, I'm totally cheating because it's not even fall here yet. It's still feels pretty summer-like. That could even have gone darker, but the main purpose of inking these is to get these edges. So this is Vintage Photo, and to get these edges so that they're not white. You could use any colors you like. You could use, while I'm here, you can use whatever paper you have on hand. These are just ideas. If you have construction paper, by all means use those. Use that. If you've got crayons, make the lay the leaves under your paper and rub them with crayons. Anyway, leaf shape is really simple, so don't get too fussy with this. If you don't have these materials, what I'm saying is, if you don't have these materials, use what you have on hand. I'll always put the links below, but that does not mean I'm suggesting you have everything that I have, or anyone else for that matter. So use what you have. Look around, get creative, see what you have. So I'm just going to finish just sort of doing the edges of these. I loved that shape. I love that leaf from that shape. It has this little scallop things, and I did cut a couple out on vellum. I might do some more. I might ink up some vellum. And this is another thing that I like to do, especially with a flat die cut like this, is I'm going to pull in close so you can see this. Play with these shapes. You know, you could put fake veins in there just running your fingernail over it. Or of course you could use a embossing tool if you've got that. But one thing I really like to do with a plain shape like this is to I fold it in half-ish, somewhere in half. So I've got it in half here, and you could leave it like that, or you could fold it in half and then just a tiny bit back, so you get a little bit of movement there. Okay? So I'll finish inking up these leaves and be back tomorrow with video 3 in this little mini series. In the meantime, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and check out the other #LoveFallArt videos here on YouTube. See you tomorrow.